tired. And what's going on is that if you had to change your clothes on and off every few minutes, you'd be exhausted.
Right. That's the story, to bring out Yechidah. So why am I saying that? Because here we're talking about, when it comes to constructive criticism, to feel the person. You have to get involved. You have to, remind yourself that you might be elsewhere and you might think you're better, but the truth is, like the Alter Rebbe says in chapter 30 of Tanya, have Ishval Ruach b'fnei kol adam, and the Alter Rebbe adds the words Vahavi be'emes la'mitoi. In other words, it's not just a figment of one's imagination. It's not just, I'm going to pretend that I'm humble. No, you really are a nothing. You know why you're really a nothing? Because that man is on the street and you have complaints and you say he's not religious and he's a bum and he's an outcast and I am a koilel guy and I am an upstanding guy. Says the Alter Rebbe, you're fortunate that you'll be able to sit in koilel and Bet Shemesh and learn. He doesn't have that luxury. Now put yourself in the same situation where you had to be on the street and you had to pedal and you had to walk around San Francisco or Wyoming, or whatever, you had to walk around, and you have all kinds of things all around you. No, would you be better? Maybe you'd actually be worse. Wow. So this is all part of what the Rebbe is saying in the Maamar here. You have to think about this before you start criticizing the other person. And remember, the Alter Rebbe in chapter 32 of Tanya, when he quotes this pasuk, he says, Im she'itcha, he's with you. He's together with you. The story I've told you over and over, and I repeat it again, that I had a balabas, a congregant, a doctor in Marin County, and he was a good Jewish Brooklyn boy. And he went to this Erasmus High School where Barbara Streisand went, and they were all together. All the Jewish Yiddelach in Brooklyn and on Church Avenue over there, Erasmus High School, before it became a war zone and you wouldn't walk there during the day. Today already you could walk there during the day. But in the 60s and 70s, if you walked there, you wouldn't come back. So anyway, so this friend of mine, this congregant, who actually was one of the people who brought me to California on Shlichus in 1984, brought my wife and I there. So after a few years, he comes to me and says, Rabbi, I can't take it anymore. All my friends who I grew up with in public school in Brooklyn, they're all Yidden. And they come to the cafeteria, so that they don't keep kosher, okay. But they have to eat pork. They have to eat ham. You know better. You come from Brooklyn. You don't eat ham. And, you eat treif, but you don't eat pork. So he says, I want to give it to them. I want to say, you're a jerk. You're really, you're a Jew. How can you eat pork? Okay? So I said, and so he asked me for permission, if I give him permission to criticize his friends. So I said to him, no, I don't give you permission. She says, why not? I said, because I have a question to ask you. Tell me the last time you played golf with them. He looks at me, he says, what does golf have to do with them eating treif? So I said to him, the Alter Rebbe answers your question in chapter 32 in Tanya. And you're a Lubavitcher, and you're a chassid, you have a nice beard and all that. 32 in Tanya says that before you can do the mitzvah v'cheach techiach zamisecha, the Alter Rebbe says, im she'itcha b'torah mitzvahs. He takes the word amisecha, which means your friend, and he breaks it up into two words. Im she'itcha. You're together with him. If you're not together with him, you have no business of giving him criticism. What is it being together with him? Playing golf together? Having a cup of coffee together? Going for a stroll together? Oh, you just rub shoulders in the whole corridor of Kaiser Permanente Hospital in San Francisco. And you guys were together in Erasmus High School. So what? That doesn't make you real good friends. It makes you not, you know each other. But you're leading two different totally lives. And therefore, for you to criticize him here is meaningless. Totally meaningless and is wrong. First, become his friend. First befriend him, and then when you'll become friends, not only will you be able to talk about not eating chazer, you'll be able to talk about making your house kosher, and as a Brooklyn boy and teenager, you know that it's something special, and you can have a conversation, and let's learn, and let's schmooze, and let's talk, and let's make our kitchen kosher. So the Alter Rebbe, without saying all this, the Frierdiker Rebbe is also addressing this by saying you have to be in the same boat, empathy, put yourself in the other person's situation. So that's basically a recap of what we learned. We're now on page, is it Reish Yutes or Reish Chaf? Do you guys remember? I think we are on page Reish Chaf, Omnam. Omnam, Adayin, the next paragraph.
Okay, wait, give us a second.
I think 344, right?
Oh, you have the new Sfarim? You have these?
Yeah. I'm on Adayin Tzarich Laban.
Okay, so then over here would be this is the Sefer. It's called Maamarim Mukatim Chelik Gimel. It's not the previous Rebbe's Contrasim. It's the collection with vowels, very nicely done by the Chabad outfit, I guess, in Eretz Yisrael. And the Maamar would be on page
344.
344. Thank you, Shmuel. 344. No, Madayin Tzarech Lahavin. However, we still must understand Alegot Ladai, who Nasi, the leader of a generation, is a Nasi, is a prince. Umar Peyaniach Hatoim Gedolim. We learned in the Pasuk in Koheles. Remember, this Maamar began with the Pasuk in Koheles. And he says the second half of the pasuk is Umarpe, and healing Yaniach will alleviate Chatoim Gedolim, great sins. HaPeirush, who the meaning of this is by the leader of the generation, preventing himself from rising and exalting himself over the congregation and making himself a big shot that he's much better than them. And rather, what does he do? He puts himself on the same plateau as the generation, as the congregation, and he's no better than them. So when he does that, doing this, he accomplishes healing, as we explained the meaning of healing in the second interpretation earlier. Hainu, Shehu, he, Ayidei Tshuva, Sevadavodasa, through his Tshuva and his service to Hashem, Mevi Refuah Lavain Hadoir, he brings healing to the sin of the generation. He heals the transgression of the generation. Well, the Rebbe now asks a very powerful question. Seemingly, this attitude of the leader making himself part and parcel of the nation, thereby causing healing to the nation, is contrary to the overall objective and behavior that the Torah wants of a nasi. Because the inyan ha-nesius, the tzarech li is b'hagva v'asnasus. Nesius, being a prince, requires being exalted and above the ordinary. And as Rabbi says in the Gemara, conduct your leadership with exaltation. There's a few girsas, a few ways of over there in the Gemara, and the previous Rebbe says this is the right girsa, this is the right way of reading that Gemara. So what do we understand from this Gemara in Ksubis? That a leader, a nasi, that's which we're talking about, should lead himself in a way of exaltation. Zroik mora betalmidim. The Gemara says, throw. Mora means fear. Betalmidim onto the students. They shouldn't come into a classroom and laugh with you and smile with you and like they're your buddy. No. A teacher comes into the classroom, there's a certain reverence. Okay, forget about the word fear, but reverence. So the Gemara says that. We understand from this Gemara in Ksubis that Nesius, that leadership, requires exaltation and elevation. If so, how is it possible that the leader of the generation should make himself similar and part of the congregation as though he's one of the guys? That's the question. And even more so, Asher Yechapes Biatzmoi Limtzoi Asher Gam Boy Bedakos the Dakos Yeshmov and Adoir. And even more so, the Rebbe is saying, we just concluded in the previous paragraph, teaching that he should find with himself, even in the most refined way, that he has a similarity to somehow to the transgression of the generation. Wait a minute. You want your rabbi, you respect a rabbi, a Rav, because you say, he's different than I. I'm a regular guy. I do this. And my Rav, my rabbi, my Rebbe, my leader, he's something, he doesn't have that. Well, wait a minute. In the previous chapter, we said, regarding giving constructive criticism, the Rebbe says that the leader should look to find within himself a deficiency. In the deficiency that the nation has, that the people have, in a coarse way, he should find it in a refined way. But nevertheless, he should look for a flaw. That's the question. And we learned earlier, Shmuel, that if he doesn't do that, he exasperates the problem. The transgression will become worse by the people if the leader doesn't find it within himself somehow. That's what we learned earlier. And he continues, so this is the question. And he says, he has to find, and why will he cause the transgression to be worse? Why? Because he did not endeavor to stop them. Shalei Paul, v'asa. He didn't activate. He didn't do what he needs to do. And more so, more so, he sinned to his generation. You hear that, guys? A leader, a tzaddik, a rebbe, a rav, a rabbi, who doesn't, take a position and doesn't take leadership and doesn't scold, basically is contributing and making worse what's going on. Like we discussed in the last year, we don't have to repeat it. So the Rebbe now answers this question. So how do you reconcile the two, Yonason? How do we say that a leader should be exalted, should be above the nation, and at the very same time we say he should be part of the nation? Ari, you understand the question?
No.
Okay.
No,
okay, hold on. Tell me why you don't understand it. What don't you understand?
My mind fell asleep, forgot.
Oh, okay. Okay, so basically wake up now. Now you're awake. And we're asking a simple question. We're learning in the Maamar the fact that when even a leader, when he gives criticism, he shouldn't be the big honcho, the big boss, the big rabbi, the big rebbe, but he should be kind of similar together with the people. And the Rebbe says, how could that be? And he brings a Gemara. He says, if students come into a classroom and the teacher is yada yada, friendly with all the kids, forget it. It's going to be a terrible relationship and it's not going to accomplish anything. There has to be reverence from the students to the teacher. And so too, when it comes to a rebbe, a rav, a rabbi, a leader, he should be exalted. So how do you reconcile the two? That's his question. And now he answers. He begins this. The idea is, This instruction that the Gemara says, can quote, conduct your leadership with exaltation. Conduct yourself in a way, in a manner that it is felt and present that you are above the others. It is in regarding matters in which the prince, the nasi, shouldn't do something that's contrary to leadership. V'hainu, ma'she'enoi kvoida shel nasi. That Gemara, the Rebbe says, refers to issues that contradict the idea of Shmuel, which is called kvoida shel nasi, the honor of nasi. There is an institution. There is a reality called nesiut, leadership. You are not allowed to blemish, damage, and belittle in any way, shape, or form that institution. And we call that in halacha kvoidai shel nasi. Hillel, you must have heard of that term. The honor of the nasi, the kavod, right? And let's continue inside. The kishem shetalmud chochem ein tzarich liyas ma'orav im amei haaretz. Just as a talmud chochem, a scholar, is not supposed to be mixed with the ignoramus, I'll explain in a moment, Kain hugam banosi. So is also regarding a nasi. You know, there's a difference between a talmud chochem, a Torah scholar, and a nasi. There are many talmidei chachamim, but there are not many nasiim. Right? A nasi is very, 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 very rare. A leader, a real leader. So the Rebbe says, just as a Talmud Chacham, the Gemara says, he's not supposed to make himself cheap by finding himself with the ignoramuses and the boors, because guess what? After a while, it rubs off on you, and even though you're a Talmud Chacham, you act in a boorish way. So that's why the Gemara says, keep some distance. Keep some distance. It doesn't mean you shouldn't smile to them and give them shalom aleichem and give them a hug and invite them to your house. But it means you have to know that there's Talmud Chacham and there is boors and each one has a place. Okay? That's a Gemara. It's not Chasidus. It's not Musar. It's a Gemara. So we go further and he says, Shenasi hu loshin hagbo v'reimamus. The word nasi, we translate it in English as prince, but Yonason, what's the meaning of the word nasi? Exaltation, nisiyut, right? Higher, right? Hagbo v'reimamus. V'chein hu rama, shehu reimamus, right? The word rama, remember, what is the Gemara saying, Subas? Look at the quote, guys. Nehoig nisiutcha barama. Yoni, what does that mean? Nahoi, conduct, nisiutcha, your leadership, barama. A high level, right? Barama. So the Rebbe says, the word rama is associated with the word shalom reimemus, romemut. Aval kol zehurak b'negel nesius bilvad. When do we say all of this? That you should be exalted, it's only regarding the matter of nisiyut, of leadership. Sheyu zehirim b'chvaydai. That you should be careful to honor the institution of leadership and a leader in that area. Uketpeidish Rashi, and as Rashi says over there on the Gemara, matil aleim ema, the nasi places upon them fear, lehoidia nisiusai. Why? To let know his nisiyut. Why should a leader, Ari, place and create fear in the people? Not for himself, for the institution of Nisius. Otherwise, you think he's another guy on the block, and we're going to play volleyball together. And one day we'll go for a stroll and eat pizza together. And then one day we'll go to the movies and goof off together. But just the other day, he was a Nasi. Or I'll tell you the famous story of Aristotle. Oh, Aristotle, the big intellectual. And one day they find him in an uncompromising position and a uncompromising thing. And they say, Mr. Aristotle, you're such a chacham, you're the wisest man, you're so smart. What happened to you? He says, guys, when I did that and when I behaved like an animal, I wasn't Mr. Aristotle. Now what does that tell you? That he was never really a Nasi. Because if he's really a Nasi, if he's not allowed to abuse his Nasiut. And by doing that, it's an abuse to Nasiut. So in that area, there's no compromise. In that area, there's only Reimamus. When the Rebbe, when we looked and learned from a Rebbe, and any Rebbe, and our Rebbe especially, there was reverence. In Chabad, you don't look at a Rebbe as chit-chat. You know, when I came to the Rebbe, I was scared to open my mouth. And not only me, thousands and thousands of people. Because this is a tzaddik. He's in a different plateau. He's worried about the whole world. Reimamus, Moshe Rabbeinu. Right? So in this area, Rashi says, Matil aleim ema. He places upon them this fear, lehodia nisiusoi, to make them aware of his leadership. So also, what the Gemara says, that the teacher should throw mora, reverence, batalmidim, fear into the students. Shuhu b'mido v'mishko, in a measured way. Not that the teacher should come in and curse out and say nasty things. That's not what we're talking about. We mean that a teacher should create an aura in the classroom that they know that they are students and he's the teacher and she's the teacher. That's what b'mido v'mishko, measured. This is not a carte blanche for teachers who come in and they bully kids and they pressure kids. And I had that, and I'm sure you guys had it. And Yoni definitely had it. You know, you take, young little children, even 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and sometimes teachers abuse them. Thank God that this has come out today, and now teachers are very careful. Sometimes there's cameras in the room. If not in the room, there's maybe mics, and everyone has a cell phone, and the kid to turn it on in his backpack. You're finished. One time you're caught on camera or on your cell phone, the haklata, on the tape recorder, on the cell phone, and that's brought to the attention of the principal and the higher-ups, you've lost your job. Because you did not just create healthy reverence, you bullied and abused some of those children by screaming at them and talking to them nasty and belittling them. Why? Because you lost your cool. And that's why, before one takes a job as a teacher in a school or a rebbe in a yeshiva, they really have to think hard if they're cut out for it. We're not all cut out for it. And we have to, and sometimes, especially post-Holocaust, many of the yeshivas had teachers who needed parnasa, they needed a job, and they weren't cut out for the job, but they needed, and they went into the yeshiva, into the girls' school, especially the yeshivas and the Talmud Torahs, and they were a disaster for the kids. And we lost thousands of kids to Yiddishkeit. Baruch Hashem, many of them are returning today, but I'm sure some of your grandparents or parents went through that. And we went through that. So now, in hindsight, I could say, and I think you guys could say too, that there's been an improvement in this area. There still needs more to be done, but there's been a very nice improvement because a teacher knows they can't get away with it. You won't get away with it. You will be caught and you will be ousted, and if you did something really bad, you'll be behind bars. Let's go further. So he says, "Leman asher talmidim yikablu dvarav b'toiv." What's the reason why the teacher is instructed by the Gemara to create reverence in the Talmidim, so that the Talmidim, the students, yikablu dvarav b'toiv, should receive his teaching, his words, in a proper way, in a good way. The Rav Talmud Hari Ikir Inyone Shel Talmidum. Next page, 345. When it comes to the relationship of a teacher and a student, the main idea of a student who Asher Yikabel Divrei Harav is so that the student should receive what? The words of the teacher. This is the idea of creating and throwing, it's just an aphorism, this reverence to the students, so that they should receive the teacher's words well, and they should know who we're talking about. You don't have just any, if it's a real teacher, you have reverence. It's a Talmud Chochem, he's more refined, he's, that. And the Rebbe says, with this idea, we'll understand better the term Zroik Mora B'Talmidim, Shignikras B'Shei Mora. The Rebbe is looking at the word Mora. Why does the Gemara say he'll create Mora? V'hu al derech shir hatolos mora bakovid. Okay. You know what the mora is? Shmuel? Mora shchayra, mora levena. What does that mean, Shmuel? The black, right? The black gall, the white gall, right? In the body. There's the mora, right? So there's that part that makes you happier, and there's a mara shchayra, a part that makes you kind of sadder, bitter. So, but the word is mara. The mara is associated by kovid with the liver. The hakovid who koyes. Hilo, you wanted to say something?
I just wondered, sometimes in English we use the word bile.
Bile, right, bile. Well, no, so what is...
But bile is not secreted by the liver. It's secreted by the gallbladder. So I know. I don't know the science enough to I was wondering on myself. I don't know. You know what? I'm going to ask in Shul Shabbos, maybe to have a doctor as the head of my department of my monitors. I'll ask him. Maybe he can explain it. Anyway, the hakoved hu koyes. Koved. Like a bodily fluid.
What now? It says here the liver is associated with anger. What's the connection between the two? Anyone know? The liver? I'm asking. The liver
purifies the blood.
Purifies the blood. That's what the liver does to the body.
Okay, so that means that so the dam is like the heat, the anger. Okay,
right.
V'hamora, and the bile, I guess, the mora, he mishaketis kas hakovid. So how does that work out, Hillel? It calms down the anger of the liver. Does it make any sense to you?
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about a mara shkora, like a depressive neurotransmitter or something, something that causes you to have a bad down spirit, right?
Yeah, no, but right, that's true. But right here, he's talking about the gashmi, is the physical mara. He says it's mishaketes kas hakovid. How is it mishaketes?
L'chore, it gets processed too through the liver. Everything.
The liver gets hot when it goes into the blood.
Well, I see I have a good friend, a masculine Chassidus, someone who understands Chassidus on the Facebook Live, Yossi Kahanov. So maybe he will write a note and explain what the Rebbe says here, this whole idea with the Mora being, that the Mora, that again, the Mora, Mishaketes Kas HaKovid. Yes.
Yonatan was saying something.
I was saying that when the liver goes into the blood, it gets hot. So we need to cool the liver down.
Uh-huh.
Could be the bile cools the liver down.
Uh-huh. I understand. Omnom, says the Rebbe, Zeh B'shir Umida Davke. This process of using the Mora to calm down the situation here, this process that the Mora creates, the reverence, and that's why the Gemara says, Reik Mora b'talmidim, the teacher should actively and proactively create a fear, a reverence, a Mora in the Talmidim. The Rebbe says it's b'shir umida. It's in a measured way. The im yipachas mikviyashir lo yashkit hakovet. Oh, no, just the opposite of what I said. Sorry. If there's not enough of the Mora, you hear this, Yonason? If there's not enough of the Mora that's active in the body, the heat of the kovet of the liver will be out of control and be very angry. So you need a certain amount of kind of frustration. It's interesting. You need a sample of frustration and bitterness so that it doesn't go into anger. The frustration and reverence, although it's kind of it withholds and it's discipline, that itself will hold back from the situation spiraling out of control and becoming what? Becoming anger, full-blown anger. So what he's saying is it's a very gewaltige word, a very deep idea, that the Mora itself is a catalyst for a healthy situation, avoiding anger. What a spin. What a spin. And he says, on the other hand, if you have too much Mora, more than the measured amount, you'll become sick. You understand? So too much Mora in the body brings illness. In other words, too much reverence put on the students will backfire as well. So a teacher needs to be very balanced in giving the right amount of Mora, of reverence to the students, that on one hand they get the point, this is the teacher and we are students. At the same time, the teacher doesn't get out of control and express his frustrations and anger on the students. Okay, just a few more minutes. There needs to be the proper amount of discipline in order for the purpose and objective, the true purpose and objective to be fulfilled, the Kabbalah's Divrei Harav, to receive the teacher's words, bichitayv, in the best way. And they should be careful with the honor of the teacher. And we'll stop here, but this is an amazing, amazing thought of how important it is for a teacher to evaluate himself in order to communicate properly to his students. Everyone have a great day. We'll see everyone tomorrow in Mitzvah Shem. Bye-bye.